everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, my name is Nina and welcome to my channel. Thank you guys so much for clicking on and joining me for today's video. In today's video, I wanted to do a little analysis on a trend or lack thereof of something I've noticed in a lot of online book spaces. I don't know if a lot of other people feel the same way or if this is going to be a very niche issue. But basically, we're going to be talking about the act of book reviewing going down in popularity as a topic for book videos. To give kind of like overarching context, in general, while dedicated book reviews are still common in text form on apps like Storygraph, Goodreads, or Instagram, separate reviews for each book as a video have definitely declined greatly on BookTube, and honestly have never really existed as a subgenre on Book Talk. Personally, I think this is a really interesting case study in how trends across platforms are created and what that can say about the platform and its users as a whole. So with that background out of the way, let's get into some of the theories. The first thing I want to talk about is if book reviews as dedicated videos have fallen out of fashion, what is there instead? Nowadays, the most popular content on BookTube is the reading vlog, which can be dedicated to one specific book, but primarily only if that book is a very popular or hyped up one, or they will just have a bunch of books included in one video. I think this has definitely grown in popularity given the more interactive or parasocial nature of a vlog in general. Having someone give you their thoughts as they are in the middle of the book kind of gives the same energy as being on a FaceTime call with them, and then them explaining the book to you in a more casual way. And I feel like in some ways that reflects the fact that BookTube as a whole has grown a lot, and book culture overall has grown to be a more accessible and widespread hobby. So there's not as much desire to seem like an expert on a book in the way a formal review can make it seem. I think that reading vlogs and then seeing the reaction of the book while in the middle of reading it feeds into an interest of seeing the person's gut reaction while reading. And that places a bigger emphasis on their enjoyment level over a critical analysis of what makes the book good. And again, I think this stems back to the same trend of reading being a more widespread hobby done for enjoyment now. So knowing how enjoyable a reading experience is in some ways more important to people over a detailed review. That's not to say there aren't readers who are reading to learn new things or to engage with the text more on a more traditional academic way. But a lot of books nowadays that get really popular are more casual, fun reads. We basically created the genre of cozy fantasy in recent years because people wanted a version of fantasy with lower stakes and less complicated storytelling. I think another major factor in why book reviews in their original format of being longer videos dedicated to one book not being as popular now is that people tend to not want to know that much information about a book before reading it. And I know this feels like it seems very counterintuitive, but I feel like I see so many people doing book hauls or in reading vlogs saying they bought a book from a TikTok recommendation, and that video was probably very vague about that book, and they're planning on just going in blind with reading the book. It seems that people really want to be surprised by the books that they read, and only want the very barest of essentials when looking at what a book is about before committing to reading it. And you'll see this in how those aforementioned TikToks or Instagram Reels will promote certain books. They're usually very fast with a title like 5 books I couldn't put down, and then the person just stacking a bunch of books on top of each other or holding them up for 1 second at a time. And maybe they'll give you the genre or the age range or a list of common tropes about what the book is about over a full summary. I definitely feel like I'm guilty of this too in some of the short form content that I've made, because it's really hard to be brief in 60 seconds if you're doing a YouTube short, and to make my recommendations enticing enough that people will not immediately click away if it's not that visually stimulating. Which all of this is probably a critique in the fact that short form content has at least slightly rotted people's brains and attention spans. I know that maybe in actuality that actually hasn't significantly happened, but I do know that I have felt some effects of being antsy if I am watching a video that's 10 minutes long. It's you need to either give me the information in the first 10 seconds or make a 2-hour-long video essay on the topic that's so insanely detailed that I can't click away. There really is no middle ground. And I feel like that's really how book reviews go nowadays in the book sphere. If you want to make a review on a book, you make an Instagram post or you do a short form video. You want to talk about a whole series or a bunch of books at once, you make a 30-minute to an hour-long reading vlog chronicling your every emotion as you go through reading the books. In talking about how books are recommended now, we obviously have to comment on the tropification of book recommendations. This is probably less of why dedicated reviews aren't as popular, and more so why short-form content recommendation style videos are more popular. I feel like when it comes to tropes, people will develop attachments or beliefs that if they like a specific trope, they want to read more books that feature that trope. In some ways, regardless on what people think of the quality of those books, so long as it has their favorite trope in them. And I feel like it is a pretty effective marketing tool to say this book is like if X book and Y book were combined together, since that gives people a frame of reference for what the book will be like in content. I don't honestly feel this is usually accurate to the content most of the time, but it seems to work better than giving like a full summary on what is the book about in getting people's attention. But that does make me think, like, does anyone read summaries anymore? I personally feel like if I was an independent author, I would just start like mailing out arcs to big booktubers or book talkers, not even really like ask them to read it, just like show it in a video, because I feel like that is the best form of promotion right now. Actually, that kind of brings me to a slightly related point. There is the saying of like any publicity is good publicity. And I legit think that might not work for books specifically, because books have a much higher like barrier to engagement than movies or TV shows. Like if a TV show drops on Netflix, you might see it get some bad reviews, but still want to see how bad it really is. And you can watch the first episode, and if you hate it, you only really wasted your time, but not your money. And watching an hour of a show that you don't like is a lot less than wasting 8 hours reading a book that you didn't like. This is also coming from the fact that I feel like so bad it's good movies and TV shows are usually more enjoyable and easier to find than a so bad it's good book. Like you have to kind of be on my immortal levels of insane plot and writing for it to be funny enough to want to read it while knowing it's bad. Actually, I was talking to my wife about my thoughts on this and about so bad is good writing, and she just said Colleen Hoover. Books also rely on pre-orders a ton to make them seem profitable. And in some ways, if you're an author and the less people that read your book early and think it's bad in pre-orders, the better it is for you in terms of getting people to buy your book on premise alone. The last point I wanted to bring up in reviewing in general is the fact that I feel like reviews are so specific to the person reading. It's really, really hard to know if the person doing the review is looking for the same things that I am in a book, and vice versa when I'm giving my book reviews. Like, I don't know if I articulate fully what I really love the most about a book. And I think this is kind of a factor of like all artistic critique, that there really isn't an objective scale that fits all types of books. I think another factor is like, I don't really actually watch a lot of people's like monthly reading wrap-ups. And that is because the book community is so insanely spoiler averse. And I feel like a lot of the time to accurately talk about a book, you need to like talk about what happens in the book beyond just what you would get from the summary. So if people are just going to give a like, here's a summary, yeah, I liked it and I thought it was fun, that's not like a real review, or not really a very productive review in terms of helping me decide if the book is right for me. To end off this video, I did want to give a caveat that this is all from like my perspective as what I see on my booktube ecosystem. And I do kind of wonder sometimes if me not seeing book reviews is part of like a self-fulfilling prophecy regarding the algorithm. I don't see review videos, so then I never click on review videos, so then the algorithm is like, well, she doesn't like watching review videos, and then they never serve them to me. So there could be a thing that I like, but the algorithm just doesn't know that I like that thing. And I obviously don't think this is just a reviews problem. I think this is a whole internet algorithm problem that will probably never be solved. I will say though, I don't often watch dedicated review videos, even for books that I've read or am interested in reading. But I will watch a movie review of a movie I have never cared about and never planned to watch. But I think that could also be me in general, like never watching a lot of movies. But with books, I'm like, well, maybe I'll read that one day, even for books that I have like zero interest in. Anyway, that is my brief thoughts on the topic. Would again love to know if this is something that other people have noticed and given thought to. I'd love to know what you guys see the most in terms of the algorithm pushing to you on either YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok regarding what is your most common book-centric types of videos. Because again, this could all just be something that I've noticed in my little niche, and it might be completely different on like a different side of the internet. Anyway, that is going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider liking, commenting, or subscribing if you aren't already. If you want me to do more like analysis or like commentary style videos, I probably have other topics that I could think up. This is just one that had been sitting with me for a couple months now that I wanted to see if other people would resonate with. But I'd honestly be interested in doing more of these types of videos in the future. Since I talked about kind of like common booktube trends at the end of last year, I feel like it's really interesting to see like how over the course of the year, different trends can grow and evolve. I feel like it just helps me personally stay more interconnected with the community. Anyway, for real, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!